I don't know what to do now. I got an idea. This thing is frozen solid, so we're going to have to do something totally out of the box. 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, so here is my solution for not having a thawed out turkey. If you can't get a fresh turkey, or if your turkey didn't thaw out, go to the store and buy some ground turkey. So what we're going to make today is stuffed turkey meatloaf on a Traeger pellet smoker. Pellet grill. I know, somebody got upset with me for calling it a Traeger smoker. So let's get rid of this. I mean, that, you know, that's good for rolling out pie or smacking frozen things. So I'm going to go over this with you real quick, and then I'll go ahead and mix it off camera. So what we have here is just a little over 2 pounds of ground turkey. And then we have a little more than a ½ pound of sausage. The turkey does not like to stay together, so a little bit of sage flavored breakfast sausage will totally solve that problem, along with some eggs and some breadcrumbs. So we're going to use some Italian breadcrumbs because we like the seasoning. A little bit of onion powder, so we're going to use about a ½ tablespoon of that. Poultry seasoning, the most important seasoning in the thing other than the smoked paprika. The poultry seasoning is the most important seasoning in this dish because it's a base of sage, and that's a real important flavor. If you don't have poultry seasoning, you can easily take and mix some sage. This one here has thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary, black pepper, and nutmeg. And really, for me, the sage and the thyme is really what does it. And then a little bit of rosemary. And then, of course, you know, black pepper is really a mainstay. And the nutmeg gives it a flavor like a very holiday flavor to me, something that you would have in your holiday foods. So the sage and the turkey are a winning combination. And, of course, we're going to put in a little bit of smoked paprika because I can't help myself. And then I want to add a little more smoke flavor, and to make sure that it gets all the way through the meat, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid smoke. I'm not going to add too much because the liquid smoke will tend to get bitter if you add a lot of it. We can make this. I happen to have some that I have bought, but we can also do that. And then a little dash of Worcestershire. I really love this for flavor. Also, I will be putting a dash of this in the pan with the chicken stock to help with the gravy base. And then, like I said, the egg. So, and then a box of stuffing. Now, you can make your own stuffing, and on my turkey recipe online on my website, I have an amazing stuffing recipe that includes apples and raisins and celery, and it just comes together, and it's got all those traditional flavorings as long as you remember to put some thyme in it. Sometimes the stuffing bags of cube bread will come with a little pouch, and I usually use about half of that in there, which gives it that same flavor. So I'm going to mix all this stuff off camera because I don't want to waste your time. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this going, and I'm going to form it into a block and put it in the refrigerator. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, so now we're back, and what we've got here is, I'll show you a picture here of the meatloaf. I've prepared the bottom half of it, and so what I did is I made the meatloaf into like a little tray inside a tray, and I put the stuffing in the freezer for 2 reasons. One reason is because I wanted it to get cold, and you'll see a picture. I'll show it to you here. I took a picture. I might not pop that up there, but you can see that I formed it so I could get a tight little a cube. And the idea is to get something that'll fill the middle of the stuffing of the meatloaf really well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the stuffing here for a second. You don't want to put hot stuffing in the middle of your turkey. And I don't know if you can see this. I'll just pick this up in a second here. It might not, but it could. So we'll talk about that. If you put hot stuffing in the middle of your ground turkey, what's going to happen is it's going to warm up, but it's not going to get up to safe temperature for an hour. What that means is that you will start growing bacteria in there, and that is not good. Now, that doesn't mean it will happen. That means it could happen. So I formed it into this block and cooled it that way so it would be easy to handle, but also so it would be food safe. So now you can see that it's sitting in that little tray there. So I'm just going to tighten up the edges just a little bit. Then I'm going to I took the turkey and divided it into a couple of pieces so it'd be easy to work with. And I'm going to spread it around. The more you have to spread it, the more everything is going to move around. And we don't want the stuffing to move around. We want it to kind of stay in the middle. So this is a little bit more than I need right there. So I'm going to take it in blocks, flatten it out a little bit like a square hamburger. Put it on there, and then spread it a little bit. And then again, I'm going to kind of make what I need to fill in those little holes. Then I'm just going to kind of massage it to get it to come together. I have this piece here, and I'm just going to smash this piece out and just add it in a few little areas here and work it in. Now the idea is I want my meatloaf to become solid. Now so let's take a look at the picture again here. So it's got the eggs and the breadcrumbs in it and the sausage to go with the turkey to give it some binding capability. And then of course, all the seasonings, you know, for flavor, we have Worcestershire, and we have the liquid smoke, and then we have the poultry seasoning, which is a sage base, and then we have the onion powder and smoked paprika, of course. And there is seasoning inside the breadcrumbs because we used Italian breadcrumbs on purpose. I'm going to just take one more shot here on this bowl and get as much of this out of here. It's only a little bit, but you know, I'm cheap. I hate to waste anything, so. All right, and that's it right there. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and remove the gloves. Now, this is chicken broth and just a carton of low sodium chicken broth. And I'm kind of careful not to leave too much of this in the fridge. So I want to use most of it, but I'm going to be using a lot over the next couple of days because we'll be making turkey gravy and stuff like that. Because while I showed you my frozen turkey, that turkey's not until Saturday. You guys can have your turkey on Thursday. I'll be having turkey on Saturday. That way it'll give me all Sunday to eat the leftovers, you know. I mean, I don't want to waste any time. I'm still eating leftover ham. So, a little bit of Worcestershire around there, and it's about 2 tablespoons at the most, and about a half a cup of the chicken stock. But again, you want to avoid leaving this stuff in the fridge because it tends to go bad really fast. But that's after it's opened, of course. So we're going to put this on a cookie sheet and transport it outside, and I'll see you out there. All right, we still have just a minute for this to come up to temperature. It was on smoke, and then I preheated it up to a little bit lower than the temperature I wanted to run it at. But we're going to run this at 325. Now, one of the downsides that you have with the pellet grill is that it's not a true smoker. And so while it's wood fired and has the smoky taste, it doesn't have a deep smoky taste. So there's a couple of different ways we can deal with that. And the first way that I already started was I added liquid smoke to my turkey. The other way is that we can use this to inject some smoky flavor into it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've been going with my favorite all-around wood for the last few smokes. We are doing a test on a bunch of different pellets here. And so right now I'm running my test on the pecan. So going to use the tube smoker. And we'll get that lit. The one downside to these pellets and these kind of smokers is that they need a lot of oxygen to operate. So you really want to make sure you get them well lit before you get them in there. You want to make sure that you don't do this near anything flammable. So right now, the Traeger is all metal, so I'm hanging it off the edge a little bit so there's no direct fire, but there is fire around it. And you'll want to get it going pretty good, so there's a lot of smoke involved here. That looks pretty good right there. We'll go ahead and deal with the turkey loaf here for a second. I'm actually going to set this over here so that way I don't knock it down when I'm doing this. And it's burning, and we want it to let it burn so it generates a little coals. So like usual, I put it on the cookie sheet on the back side so there's no lip to deal with. If you have a lipless cookie sheet, that's the best way to go. But I have a bunch of these. I use commercial quarter sheets only, or half sheet. And then I use the grill mat for two reasons. One reason is because it adds strength to the bottom of the foil pan, and the other reason is because it makes it really easy to move, and they're a lot cooler than the actual mat itself, than the foil. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit, and remember I will be taking it and I'll be spinning it halfway through the cooking process. So now to show you this, these pellets are burning just the way I want them. They're burning really good. So I blow it out and look at all the smoke that it's generating now. The end is a little warm here, but it's not hot. So I'll set it in here. And I'm putting it over the gap, definitely clear on the top, so that way it will smoke well. And it's the same flavor that I've loaded the grill with. So it is going good. You can see a lot of extra smoke coming out here, and that's more than I want to come out, but it will fill the whole container. And something that you can do is you can just pop a little piece of tin foil in the corner if too much of it's coming out of one spot. But let's pop in there and take another look here, and you can see that it's just filling the whole chamber. If you have your chamber that's not hot and you want to put this in ahead of time, put it in on the low side of the drain tray. That way it'll give room to come up and over. Let's take another look at it. We'll go ahead and try it on the other side. And it's getting warm fast in there. So I have a work glove right here, and it's a little wet, but that'll be perfect because it'll keep it from burning us. There we go. I don't know if you can see this, but I move it to the other side, and of course the smoke comes out the other side. It does look like it's balancing out a lot better now though. Smoke's coming out all across. That's exactly what we're looking for. All right, well, it's going to take some time to come up to temperature here, and I've got it set on the 325, so I'll probably just go ahead and move it up to 350 and then bump it back down, and that way it'll get a real good run there. And we close the lid, so now is the time to check our pellets. I put a starter amount in here. There is about an hour and a half's worth in here. After you use the pellet smoker for a while, or pellet grill, you'll get an idea of how much it takes at what temperature. But we're going along really good here. The temperature looks good. We're getting that smoke out of here. So we're gonna let it go, and we'll see how it looks in about an hour. All right, so I went ahead and left the temperature up like it was so it could stay warm. And it's going pretty good. And if you can see this here, we're still getting a lot of smoke from the pellet smoker tube. Look at it going, that is great. And most of the liquid is gone, so it could probably use a little bit more liquid, but we can worry about that in a minute. So I don't know that you can see that, so let's take a picture and add it to the screen there for you. In the picture, the bottom of the tray looks black, but it's really not. It's just a dark brown. And I will get some more chicken broth and add that after we end this cut here, but I'm going to go ahead and close the lid back down because I want it to keep cooking right along the schedule. And I'll also bring out the temperature instant read thermometer and get a temp on it really quick. So I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so I went ahead and added about half a cup of chicken broth, and then I mixed up some gravy mix here. I did not homemade make this. It's really kind of a challenge to do that without the whole turkey. You could reserve a little bit of sausage and a little bit of ground turkey before you make your turkey loaf and use that to help make some gravy, but you would still need to do a roux or a cornstarch base, which is what my family always did, or my grandmother always did. And then use chicken broth with your turkey broth. But really, when you're doing the loaf, there just isn't enough liquid for you to do any of that. Now you can see this thing is still smoking along great. This probably is the best experience I've had with this tube since I've used it. I think that this thing works really well in this smoker. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spin this. I did temp it, and we were at 155, and 155 means that we are almost done. And when I say that, our final temperature needs to be at 165, but at 158 your carryover cooking is going to bring you up to that temperature easily. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the gravy. And if it doesn't mix when you pour it in, you'll need to mix it a little bit. And I'm going to reserve this container for the gravy. When it comes back off of here, I'm going to add it back to it. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a mix here. And there's a lot of liquid in there now because of the because of adding the juice and adding the gravy. When I pull it back out, what'll happen is I'll be able to add cornstarch and thicken it up and microwave the gravy if I need to for a minute or two. But you can see there, whew, that's a lot of smoke. Things working good. And then trusty instant read thermometer. You can use any probe. You can use a wired probe if you want. But this one, it's so fast and it just goes right in and gets right in there. 158, boom, done, just like that. So we're getting really close to done here. I did go ahead and take the moment to turn the temperature down, and I'm just gonna leave this a little bit aside in the house. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes here. I mean, literally, we just want it long enough to heat up that gravy. All right, so the turkey loaf is done, but first thing I'm gonna do before I do that is I'm gonna take some of these pellets out of the hopper. Now, it's not grossly overloaded. There's just enough there to last longer than I'd like. So I'm just gonna put them back in the bag, and then I can seal the bag up for next time. Now this doesn't have a drain chute or anything like that, so we just have to do it manually, but it's not very hard if you don't have chimney in there. You just take a couple scoops and get them out of there. And then we'll cover that all up because it's been raining a lot lately. But let's go ahead and close that down. Open this up. And the pellet tube is still just going like totally good. I think that because of the airflow of the Traeger, I think that really aids in that thing working really well. So we're just gonna go ahead and slide this out on here. And it's gonna weigh a lot because it's got the gravy in there. I'm gonna pick it up and set it down for a second so I can recenter it. I'm gonna put a little liquid on top of it really quick. And that pellet tube is just going to town. I'm gonna move it forward just a little bit so that way it stays really well ventilated. And then I'm just gonna turn this thing up so it will run at full blast and burn out all those pellets. I don't want any of those pellets left. As soon as it runs out of pellets, the motor will air and then it'll just automatically turn off. So let's start by putting a picture up here of some of the meatloaf after I cut into it, because you're gonna see that center of the stuffing, and I temped it all the way through so it's nice and hot all the way to the middle. And it is going to turn out great, and you'll get your turkey flavor, and who could be unhappy with that? I know it's not a bird, but it's what we could do when you don't have a frozen bird. It also makes a really great item to have for a holiday dinner when you have a small crowd too, and that might be something you might consider. So anyway, last minute food dish, turkey stuffing stuffed meatloaf. Thanks for watching. My affiliate links are down below, and I will get a commission for any of those links that you use, so thank you, and have a great holiday.